Hello, I'm Kristen Oaks-White.
And I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. Louisiana's corn crop is in the ground, and there's a lot of it. While good weather has helped the crop along, grains are facing a lot of headwinds in the markets.
As TWILA's Neil Melancon shows us, even with an ideal crop, Louisiana's grain farmers are facing some dark clouds on the horizon.
It's a beautiful day here in St. Landry Parish on this corn farm. Stephen Quibido farms here along with his son Kyle. The weather right now has been a big factor in why this crop looks so good.
We've kind of shifted into the corn the last few years because of the sorghum in and out. Corn's done very well for us the last 3 years. It's been a great rotation.
The Quibidos market their crop through the Louisiana Farm Bureau's Marketing Association. Greg Fox works with them and says much of the state's corn crop looks like this as well.
So far so good. Some rains did slow some folks down, but I think they were able to catch up fairly quickly. The equipment now, you can get a lot done in a short period of time. So we're just crossing our fingers for good rain when we need it and no rain when we don't.
This is the 20th anniversary of Quibido Farms. One thing that's cropped up since its inception is the addition of sugarcane, an increasingly common sight on grain farms in this area.
There's 3 guys that I know that are actually shifting to sugarcane also. It's a different commodity. It's a whole different ball game, but it's been good for us.
Part of the inclusion of cane here is the instability of the grain markets. Greg Fox says the markets are going to be a challenge nationwide this year.
You know, last year prices weren't very good. The years before we saw some fairly steady prices, some better prices. We've seen a good bit of volatility this year in the market. It wasn't where we wanted it. Then tariff talks really hit where we saw tariffs get put in place and we saw a big dip in both corn and soybeans. But it didn't take long for that to come back. We saw negotiations with other places, other countries, and the markets have come back. So they're at much better levels than when we started, but not quite where most farmers feel like they're very profitable.
Stephen says their farm's crop diversity is to ensure the success of the farm for the future, particularly for his son. Kyle says whatever they produce, he's just happy to be farming.
I do, very much. And then when you get to sit in the combine at the end of the season and see all the work that you put in actually turn into something.
Stephen says that passion for making a crop is a must.
Any farmer will tell you, if you don't have it in you, you're not gonna make it. Input costs have been very hard to deal with. The prices of the commodities have been down. It's been a struggle the last few years. We keep saying next year. We it's just the way we talk, hopefully next year will be better. But here we are doing it again.
According to the LSU Ag Center, more than 530,000 acres of corn has been planted in the state, and by all accounts, it's a pretty good-looking one, as you can see in this field here. For farmers like Stephen and Kyle Quibido, it's going to need to be a big crop, as high input costs and low commodity prices are going to make every stitch of grain count to help make ends meet. Reporting from Sunset, Louisiana, I'm Neil Melancon.
Like many folks, Stephen Quibido grew milo last year. However, with the change in prices, farmers like him have shifted back to corn. Corn harvest in Louisiana usually starts in August.
After heavy flooding up north in areas like Kentucky, there were a lot of people who were concerned here about the water coming down the Mississippi River. The river just crested and will slowly begin falling over the next couple of weeks. State climatologist Jay Grimes initially believed that the Bonnie Carey spillway would need to be opened to relieve swelling on the river, but says that will no longer be necessary.
That was right on the borderline, but it looks like the river flows are going to stay below the threshold to open that. So there's some good news there as well. Impacts, yeah, we've seen some sand boils, maybe some seepage along the levee, but that's not anything unusual. So for Louisiana, we're in pretty good shape. And in North Louisiana, in Vicksburg and at Natchez, the river's already started to fall. So we'll start to see the lower portion of the Mississippi here in Louisiana. That should start to fall by the middle of next week.
The Atchafalaya is also at or near its crest, but coastal areas like Morgan City should still see a couple of inches more rise before things start to dip back down. While we were lucky to avoid any significant flooding, our neighbors to the north were not as fortunate. In early April, some parts of Arkansas saw more than 15 inches of rainfall.
That flooding inundated the state's waterways, pushing some more than 20 feet over flood stage. That kind of flooding is significantly devastating to farmers. Our friends at the Arkansas Farm Bureau spoke to one man who says the damage is extensive.
It's the deepest I've ever seen the water. We farm rice and soybeans and corn, and I've been farming for 55 years. Now, my son and daughter are both involved, and my son manages the farm, and my daughter can do anything and does everything. When they began to call for the rains, flooding rains, generational floods, we didn't plant anything because we knew what it could do if the rains came. And they did, they came. We have a levee system on the Cache River that protects our farms and it also protects the town of Grubbs. And we have 4 major breaks in that levee, and it will take most of the summer to repair those. The Cache River, there's been levees built all the way up because to farm it, you have to have a levee and you got to have a pumping system, and you can't farm on it without it. It was a domino effect. As it breaks levees, it comes, and then when it goes over Highway 226, you know you're going to get it. And when it filled every field full, then it broke our levees, and we were working every day to save it. The city worked to save it, but you just couldn't do it because the water went straight up when it got to the last field. You can't get 10 to 12 inches of rain and survive it. Landowners are willing to say, do whatever you have to do. We don't mind the water going through our farm fields. We want to keep your houses dry. And so people worked, they volunteered, and they worked together. They made the decision, and the highway department let them cut Highway 37 north of our home here. And that pushed the water over to what we call Skillet Ditch and gave some relief so they could save their town. And we'll miss a crop on probably 3,700 acres that we just won't be able to plant, because if you do and you get a 2-inch rain, it'll wipe it out again. So you can't afford that in times where the prices are already maybe break even or lose money. My first crop loan, I spent $6,200, and now I'm spending $1 million. So that tells what the drastic change in inflation has done to us. And so it's very difficult, and it'll keep you up at night if you aren't careful. We have a hope for the future, but years like this will make you wonder. And so anyway, we'll keep battling. We'll do the best we can and stay with it as long as we can.
Arkansas meteorologists say the state passed double its monthly average rainfall back on April 13th. Those storms also spawned several tornadoes across the state. As usual, Louisiana has practically jumped over spring as summer temperatures are taking over, meaning longer, hotter days for those working out in the fields. It may seem like a no-brainer, but doctors say there are still people who don't do enough to take the right precautions. Hydration is important, but what many people don't realize is that you should start drinking water well before you head outside. For farmers and farm laborers who spend nearly all of their time outdoors, recognizing the warning signs of heat exhaustion and heat stroke is crucial.
Obviously, you're going to be fatigue, some dizziness, increased thirst. By the time you start to see signs like kind of temperature dysregulation, where you're starting to get the chills and that kind of thing, you've kind of passed those early warning signs and you're starting to get a little more into trouble.
Dr. Jacob Wood says that water is the most important hydrating fuel, but electrolyte replenishers like Gatorade can also be very helpful. Just know that some sports drinks can have a lot of extra calories. While the Louisiana legislative session is entering its 4th week, lawmakers in Baton Rouge are considering a number of bills that affect farmers and landowners.
3 of the big issues: carbon capture, insurance, and Make America Healthy Again. Louisiana Farm Bureau is keeping an eye on all of those bills.
What happens at the Louisiana State Capitol does not stay at the Louisiana State Capitol. That's why Sabine Parish Farm Bureau President David Maines is interested in what goes on there.
Joe invited me to come down and spend the day with him and be in the Capitol and observe what's going on in the session right now, and so I took him up on it and came down and spent the day with him.
The Joe Maines mentioned is Louisiana Farm Bureau Legislative Specialist Joe Mapes. The two attended this House committee meeting focused on carbon capture and sequestration, and then appeared on the Louisiana Farm Bureau podcast to talk about it. Mapes says there are 25 bills filed this session on the subject.
They're not all of the same subject matter. So some will be in regard to legal matters pertaining to carbon capture and sequestration. Others will be into the permitting and jurisdiction, like House Bill 4 you were talking about a minute ago, Chuck Owen's bill.
That bill would have given local parishes the final say on permitting carbon sequestration wells. It did not make it out of this committee. Maines is still concerned about what carbon sequestration could mean for his land.
And also your groundwater, if you have wells, irrigation wells, you have domestic wells for drinking water, those all can be affected by these issues.
On another subject, Maine says insurance costs make up about 1/4 of his overhead expenses for his hay operation. Both Governor Jeff Landry and Commissioner of Insurance Tim Temple say making insurance affordable is a priority, and judging by the number of bills lawmakers will consider, it's a priority for them as well.
You've got 85 pieces of legislation that have been filed, alleging to reform the insurance crisis in Louisiana. They're having difficulty moving, some of those bills, a lot of difficulty. The governor's got a bill of his own that is, deals more with the insurance companies, I guess, than other related industries, so it deals more with the insurance industry instead of lawyers, instead of doctors. And, that's what we've got to do is we've got to have a comprehensive bill that affects every profession that's participating in this.
For Maine's, this opportunity to participate in the process has been enlightening.
Yeah, it's very eye-opening. You hear a lot of things in the news, and a lot of times it's skewed, you don't always know for sure, but it's nice to see it firsthand, and understand, both sides. You hear both sides. And each side is very passionate about what they're trying to accomplish, but it was very good. I enjoyed it.
The 2025 regular Louisiana legislative session is set to end on June 12th. However, lawmakers can extend the session to consider a late-filed budget bill. That's allowed under a recent change to the Constitution approved by voters.
In the first 100 days of President Donald Trump's administration, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins says farmers continue to be the #1 priority. In those 100 days, Rollins visited 15 states, though Louisiana was not one of them. The USDA says Rollins has unveiled a 5-point plan to reduce the cost of eggs and has worked to expand market access for farmers. Next, Rollins plans to visit 6 international markets, including India, Peru, and Japan, to help boost exports. Grassroots leadership is at the heart of what makes Louisiana Farm Bureau such a strong voice for Louisiana agriculture.
That's why a large group of Louisiana Farm Bureau volunteers gathered recently for the Michael J. Danna and Women's Leadership Committee Leadership Conference. TWILA's Carl Wiggers takes us to Covington to see what the weekend offered.
Louisiana Farm Bureau grassroots volunteers from all corners of the state are gathered at the Michael Danna and Women's Leadership Committee Leadership Conference in Covington. Marty Wooldridge helped organize the meeting, which honors Mike Danna, the former Director of Public Relations at Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation.
Mike wanted the best for us. He wanted the best for our ag producers, which in turn is the best for the Farm Bureau. And he gave us the tools. He helped us be what we needed to be as leaders. And that's what we're still trying to carry forward.
Michelle Semino is the chair of the Women's Leadership Committee. For her, the networking and relationships built at events like this are what make the organization so powerful.
I think it's important to network with our groups, Young Farmers, Women, Executive Committee, State Board. We have a lot of different aspects here this weekend, and some just Parish Farm Bureau board members, some new faces, glad to have them. It just builds that family, you just become family and friends and learn about new people and new things.
This event was not all classroom time. The group traveled north of Covington to see some unique agriculture in the Florida parishes.
We just came to Fleur de Lis Tea Farm, learned about black tea, green tea, white tea. It was very interesting. We're headed to Bracey's Nursery and then on to Sinagra Dairy Farm, and we'll end up at Covey Rise for dinner.
I can take it all the way back 20-something years of getting involved in Farm Bureau, getting out of my little sliver of land in northwest Louisiana, Catahoula Parish, where there was very few of us, especially my age group at the time, and getting out and visiting and hearing all the other ideas and thinking of what you could do.
There's a lot of times we segregate different activities, and this is an opportunity to putting our stuff together and working more as a family.
President Richard Fontenot was part of a panel with folks from the insurance company and field staff discussing the renewed focus on membership and the way the insurance company and Federation can work together to grow that membership.
So I have a really good leadership on the volunteer side team that's put together. We have really good leadership on the insurance side, and I think together at the end of the day, Farm Bureau is going to be stronger tomorrow.
Wooldridge says gatherings like this allow Louisiana Farm Bureau to remain a strong voice into the future.
Here we're taking that chance again to instill in our leadership so that they can be the best leaders they can be back home, so we can develop them into great leaders at our state level, maybe the national level, a commodity level, somewhere. we're going to give them what they need to be a part of their Farm Bureau.
In Covington, Louisiana, I'm Carl Wiggers for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
If that looks like something you would enjoy, visit our website, twilatv.org, and find out how to get involved in Louisiana Farm Bureau. The organization has its 103rd annual convention coming up in New Orleans at the end of June. Before we head to break, we want to take a look at some of the post-Easter crawfish prices in the major cities across the state.
In Baton Rouge, Rouse's on Florida Boulevard has them for $2.49 a pound live and $2.99 a pound boiled.
Down in the Crescent City, Rouse's on Barone Street actually has the same prices, $2.49 a pound live and $2.99 a pound boiled.
And in Shreveport, no Rouse's here, so check out Shaver Seafood, where they're $2.49 a pound live and $3.99 a pound boiled.
These crawfish prices are brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, which reminds you to always eat Louisiana crawfish and to make sure, ask before you eat.
Still to come on TWILA, we continue our trek down the road to leadership.
But first, if you want to talk about close economic and cultural ties to Louisiana, blame Canada. Stay with us.
You're watching This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
Louisiana has one of the strongest relationships with our international northern neighbors, Canada. Susan Harper, Consul General of Canada, recently visited Louisiana Farm Bureau to discuss that relationship. Louisiana exports more than $4 billion in goods to Canada every year. Roughly 4% of that is agriculture. At the same time, Canada invests heavily in our state, including supporting nearly 103,000 employees in Louisiana, in addition to the 7,100 employees at Canadian-owned businesses. Louisiana Farm Bureau believes that strengthening its Canadian relationship will greatly benefit its members. Louisiana Farm Bureau is a strong voice for Louisiana agriculture because of the volunteer leaders who make up the membership.
In this segment of Road to Leadership, we meet one of the newest members of Louisiana Farm Bureau leadership, Catahoula Parish farmer Burch Pierce.
My name is Burch Pierce. My wife Ashley and I and our two sons farm in Catahoula and Avoyelles Parish, farm cotton, corn, soybeans. We have a few cows. And I currently serve as the second vice president of Louisiana Farm Bureau. When I was 6 or 7 years old, the neighbor across the street was a Farm Bureau agent, and he got my dad involved. I started serving on the Catahoula Parish Board. We went to convention a few times. I can remember going, 9, 10, 11 years old, thinking it was something really neat, but maybe didn't think a whole lot about it at the time. But fast forward to 2006, my dad got on the state board for District 4, and during that time, the way it worked out, District 4 sat next to the wife and our chair, who was Elliot Colvin. And he started talking to my dad, about young farmers and ranchers and explaining the program, because I don't think my dad really had a clue what that did. But fast forward a couple more years, 2009, my wife and I showed up at convention, and Elliot kind of recruited me through my dad to come to the lunch for wife and R. They were doing state committee elections for the odd number of years, and they came around and they said, hey, you guys are the only ones here from District 4. Would you like to serve on the state committee? And I said, well, sure, we'll give it a shot. So did that for about 5 years, and really enjoyed it, met a lot of people. That's kind of our introduction to Louisiana Farm Bureau, and it was, again, great experience. The reason that I commit time and my family commits time to Farm Bureau is because it's too important not to for our industry. Getting to take part, serve on maybe a task force or a committee where you get a passion for something and then actually get to see the outcome, where you actually did maybe move the needle, even if it was just a little bit, and say, hey, the time I invested, we really made a difference. We got that done, and maybe we helped a whole segment of the industry, or maybe we just helped someone in a small area of the state. Seeing the old cliche, the fruits of the labor, I think that's what kind of puts the hook in people. It's a grassroots organization, and that's where it starts. It starts out in the field, in the communities, and we all have to be involved. We are the grassroots, and without us, it can't be as effective. But as far as being committed or involved, you know, again, you can't afford not to be. Farm Bureau is working on your behalf, whether you're a member or not.
Next in our Road to Leadership series will be another newcomer to the Louisiana Farm Bureau Executive Committee, 3rd Vice President Amelia Kent, who raises cattle in southeast Louisiana.
We want to take a moment to recognize a Louisiana Farm Bureau staff member who was recently honored by LSU. Andy Brown, Director of Commodity and Public Policy, received the LSU College of Agriculture's Friend of the College Award. Andy's a Mississippi State Bulldog, so don't hold that against him. The award is specifically for a non-LSU alum who has shown exemplary leadership and made significant contributions to the College of Ag. Andy says he's proud to represent Louisiana farmers and ranchers.
To not be a native son, to not be a graduate, and to get a Friend of the Alumni Award means a whole lot to me. Very touching for me, especially this early in my career. And it's not something, y'all know I'm usually one with all the words, and I don't have a whole lot of words on this one. It's just been really special.
The ceremony was held in the Stadium Club at Tiger Stadium. Other honorees included professors, students, and organizations who have helped to develop ag technology, shown great leadership, and helped to secure grants.
Yeah, that's always a great event, and Andy definitely deserved that award.
Very true.
Well, still to come on TWILA, how do you get a 400-pound calf up a cliff face?
A lesson in ingenuity and persistence up next.
Time now for this week's TWILA Boost, and this week it's a tale of humanity's persistence to save a life.
When he saw a calf at the bottom of a cliff, Nathan Martinelli knew he had to help the animal out. Take a look.
I was just hiking along the coast, and when I looked down, I saw the cow looking right up at me. I knew I had to do something. It was pretty steep, and you could see where the cow went down and then fell. I slid down there. I was trying to figure out a way I could get it up, and I found an abalone shell. One side was sharp, the other side was rounded, almost like a perfect hand shovel. And I started digging steps. I knew if that cow didn't want to get up, there was no way I could get it up because it's like 400 pounds. But it was watching everything I did so closely, and it just kept getting closer and closer to me. I was almost done with these steps. The cow shot up next to me, and then it started going the wrong way.
No. Watch out, babe.
Once it started going the wrong way, I was under it. And I knew if that thing would have slipped, it would have taken me out with it. And so I was trying to get close to the cliff, hoping it would like calm down. As it went by me, I was super nervous. I was like shaking because I knew I was in a bad situation if it slipped.
There you go.
When we both got on safe ground, I was just so excited.
Now that was impressive.
It was, and I feel like I've done plenty of things like that with my bovine friends. I guess I just need to record it and it can be a viral sensation.
Has it gone down a cliff face, though? I mean, I know canal, ditch.
I mean, there's been a lot of interesting things happen, but we don't have a lot of cliffs in Louisiana, you know, so.
Yeah, understandable.
Got to work with what you got. So that does it for this edition of TWILA. Next week, we'll be away at the annual communications conference, but the following week, we'll be back with all new stories.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on TikTok, Instagram. You can also find all of these stories and more on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe, turn on those notifications. That way you know when we put something new out there.
For all of us here at TWILA, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.